Well, it's personal between me and you, and I'm going to do you some serious harm, you big stiff idiot.
The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, I'm back in Las Vegas. Had a long week in LA and whatnot, and I'm catching up on my boxing. And I had a chance to watch that Edgar Berlanga versus Steve Rolls fight. And a lot of people have been asking me, saying, BT, what did you think about Edgar Berlanga versus Steve Rolls? Now, when I was in LA and, I didn't see the fight, I heard a lot of the reaction, people saying that Edgar Berlanga got exposed and things like that. And after watching it, I just want to give my little thoughts and assessments. Now, let me just come out first and foremost and say this was once again a performance where Edgar Berlanga left a lot to be desired. Steve Rolls was a guy that was made to order for him to look good against. He was a guy who was 37 on the back nine of his career. Only his second fight at 168. So Edgar's a naturally bigger guy, naturally stronger guy. All it was going to come down to for this fight for Edgar was, could he apply his skills in such a manner to where he could break down a guy like Steve Rolls the same way Golovkin did. Now, the fight went the distance. Edgar Berlanga's third straight time going the distance since the knockout streak ended. And to Steve Rolls' credit, because I don't want to just make this about what Edgar didn't do. We got to give some credit to what Steve Rolls did do. Now, yes, it is true. Steve Rolls did get knocked out against Golovkin in 4 rounds. But at the same time, if you go back and you watch that fight, Steve Rolls was a lot more front foot oriented. He had more of a front foot sort of attack in that fight. As in this fight, I think, as Andre Ward said on the telecast, he fought for his age, for his ability. He fought the perfect fight. Like, he fought the fight he needed to fight to put himself in the best position to win. Using the jab, showing the straight right hand and landing it quite a lot. Picking his spots when to throw volume punches and combinations. I left this fight very impressed by Steve Rolls. I don't think he won. I think maybe it could have been a draw if you give him a couple more rounds early in the fight. But I want to see Steve Rolls. If Steve Rolls continues to box, I want to see him again against some lower level 168 pounders. Still get him on TV, because he showed that he's worth watching and he's worth fighting. So good performance from him, good effort. Edgar. We'll start with the positives. The positives in this fight was I think he did make a conscious effort to try to mix some boxing into his skill set. But when you fought over a 6-year pro career and you have 18 fights in, fighting the same way, you're not just gonna undo tendencies and habits in one training camp. You know what I'm saying? So I felt like he was trying to box, but at the end of the day, like, sometimes, most times fighters are gonna go back to doing what they know, and it takes 2, 3, 4 training camps to get things implemented. Now, positives for him were that, when he actually stepped into his jab, because there was a lot of pawing with the jab. When Edgar actually stepped into his jab and landed on Steve Rolls, it had an effect. And, one thing I wish Edgar would have did a little bit more of that he started doing later on in the fight was go to that body. He threw, I think it was round 9, he dipped to his left, and he threw a great left hook to the body. And then after the left hand came back, he threw like a little chopping right hand to the head of Steve Rolls. There was not enough of that. Like, those are the kind of things I think Edgar would be great at, coming in with that power jab. I still want to see some feints. I didn't see any feints. That's still my number one top main criticism of Edgar. He's not throwing enough feints for me. Throw the feints. Stepped on something. Throw the feints. Come behind that nice power jab. Dip to the left, throw the left hook to the body, set it right over the top, and then just mix it up off of that. To me, there just wasn't enough of that from Edgar. And credit to him, he did what he needed to do to get the win against Steve Rolls. And at the end of the day, all that matters is getting the win. It doesn't matter how you get it. But for Edgar, people like myself and many others in boxing, we know that Edgar can fight better than he fought. And we have expectations of him. So because of that, the performance is not going to be looked at with a great light. I don't think there was a ton of progression in this fight, but I do see him trying to think a little bit more. But he's still making some bad mistakes, like keeping his head on the center line a little bit too much. He's trying to parry, but it's not really something he's mastered yet. So I would like to see Edgar try to work on moving that head off the center line a bit more, changing the speed of his jabs, because if you notice, right, I think it was like round 3, 4, Edgar's throwing the same jab over and over and over again, and Rolls is starting to notice that it's coming in at the same speed. And eventually what Rolls started doing was he started timing the jab and then countering over the top. See, when he fights these guys like who are of higher caliber with harder straight right hands than Steve Rolls, some of those right hands that Steve Rolls landed are going to hurt him and potentially knock him out. So I think Top Rank, look, if he's going to continue to go on this direction with Kay Karoma and Mickey Bay and Andre Rozier and all these guys in his corner, and they're going to try to implement more boxing with his natural strength that he does have and trying to tweak his style, they better be careful with how they match him, because I think it's going to take about 2 to 3 more fights for him to really take some leaps as a fighter. Because I see him in there trying to think. He's trying to do what they're teaching him, but he's just going back to what he knows. And I think he had some good moments later on in the fight, but it's still, I gotta be honest, it's still a performance to where if you're looking at Edgar Berlanga and you're saying, can this guy go and beat a Benavidez? Could he beat a Canelo Alvarez? Could he even beat a Caleb Plant? Could he beat a David Morrell Jr.? Could he beat any of the top guys at 68 if he were to cross paths with them? And I think right now, while he does have some tools and some attributes, the answer is no. Edgar Berlanga, and he's even acknowledged that himself. He knows he needs time. So, you know, not really doing much for his stock, that performance. If people want to call him a hype job, they're well within their rights to, because the reality is he just fought a 37-year-old Steve Rolls, who only fought at 168 once before this fight. And Steve Rolls looked great. Steve Rolls looked as great as he could have possibly looked in this fight, and put himself in a position to potentially win the fight or get a draw. I mean, to me, it was that close of a fight. So, you know, I want to see Steve Rolls again. Much respect to the Warrior from Toronto, Canada, for boxing a good fight. I like to see him again against a lower level opposition on TV again, because, you know, I did enjoy the boxing skills. But Edgar Berlanga has to improve, and he has to go back to the drawing board, because that's not it. I'll tell you like this, man. I like him. I wish nothing but the best for his career, but he fights David Benavidez as someone like that, he's gonna get, you know, folded up like a blue steel chair, like The Rock, like Chris Jericho. So, you know, just not enough for me. But that's my take on the fight. Edgar Berlanga, Steve Rolls. Not really sure if he's ever gonna improve at this point. Just being honest with you guys, I'm hoping he does. He's still 24. He's still young, but them improvements got to come real soon. Because right now, if you don't like Edgar Berlanga and you want to call him a hype job, he just went 10 rounds with a 37-year-old blown up middleweight. So that's the reality of the matter. You guys can leave your thoughts down below. Make sure you guys take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys. Thank you for watching another video on True School Sports, the home of boxing. If you made it this far, do me a favor and do yourself a damn favor. Hit that subscribe button and surely you will not be disappointed. You know, True School Sports bringing you the latest and greatest, the untouchable, you know, boxing content, interviews, news videos, breakdowns, live fight reaction extravaganza. We've got a great community of people here, boxing fans all over the world, from America to the UK to Australia, and on and on and on. So join the empire today. Hit that subscribe button. Take care and God.